If you're an overthinker like me, you're going to know that overthinking can cause so many different problems. I used to overthink everything, but now with a bit of technique and finesse, I am so calm and so unbothered by everything that it's almost scary to me how far I've come. So if you're an overthinker, here are some Japanese techniques to stop overthinking, which by the way, I think it's kind of hilarious because Japanese people tend to overthink a lot of things, quite a bit, but in a way it also creates a more considerate society. And it also seems like some of the best problem solvers are also the same people who went through the same ordeals. So in my case, this makes me a veteran of overthinking. If you can't stop worrying about your mistakes, about your future, reliving embarrassing moments of your life in your head, even though it happened a long time ago, or even dwelling on things that shouldn't even matter to you, finding it hard to let go, or just being afraid of failure, these philosophies are going to help you immensely. Before we get into it, hi, I'm May and welcome to my channel. I'm all about self-improvement, so if you want to better yourself physically, mentally, and spiritually, do give my video a like and subscribe to my channel if you like my vibe. And if you want to join a community of like-minded people, you can always join my Discord community. So we're in the middle of a meditation challenge. If you want to join us, I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. But for now, let's get into the video. So the first technique is called shoganai, embracing the unavoidable. This means accepting what you can't control and focus your energy on what you can control. The most common English translation for this word is "this cannot be helped." This might be something that you say to yourself if you're running towards the subway and then the train doors close on you, or as a consolation if you drop your ice cream cone on the floor. I like to think of it as the sigh word because that's how it usually comes out. Shoganai is a type of underlying mentality amongst Japanese people that comes down to the control of a situation, or more so the lack of control. The typical situations that call for the use of this word should be the ones that you have no control over, like if you get caught in the rain without an umbrella. I believe it comes from Buddhism or Shintoism, one of those religions, but at the heart of the word is the reminder that while we can't control our environment or people or anything outside of our own selves, we can control our reactions to situations that we might not want. Obviously, we all go through situations like these, and it's not a uniquely Japanese idea, but it's similar to shit happens or c'est la vie. But that's really it. Shoganai isn't an attitude, it's a mentality. And this mentality can bring a good and dare I say even healthier perspective on the way that we experience life in general. Accepting that some things just aren't in our control will set you free and relieve you of the need to be in control all the time, because that's impossible. It's almost like a sigh of relief. You don't have to be in control. When you have to deal with stuff like government stuff, or if you're at the DMV, for example, and there's a long line ahead of you, it's shoganai. Why worry and waste even more energy and raise your blood pressure over something you can't control? You might just as well make the best of it, be productive, maybe even bring a book, listen to a podcast, learn something while you wait, because it can't be helped. This point alone is going to get rid of so many problems for you when you don't see it as a problem. Number 2, shinrin-yoku. It's hard to overthink when you're surrounded by a beautiful environment away from cities and pollution and computers, and just being in nature and just witnessing how gorgeous and beautiful nature is. It truly feels like going to the spa, but for your soul. So this word directly translates into new green or fresh spring. It also refers to the season right after the cherry blossom season, when new vegetation starts growing in and you just start seeing green everywhere. When you're in Japan, this is a really beautiful time where the weather is very balmy and warm, and right before humidity and summer hits. This is also when the holidays in Japan are just starting, so people have extra time in their hands to go to the park or go on nature walks, and this is a very specific activity as well that Japanese people do, whether it's by themselves or it's just a nice way to spend time with people. And there are a lot of guided walks in the national parks just for shinrin-yoku. So specifically, this means engaging in forest bathing or spending time in nature. Forest bathing is the practice of spending time outdoors and just basking in and taking in the atmosphere of just being in greenery. And the cultural significance of shinrin-yoku is that newly grown greenery is a testament of growth and vitality, and it's also the symbol of the start of a new life cycle. So being surrounded by nature, it helps calm your mind down and really reduces your overthinking. This is by providing a peaceful environment to just relax and meditate, and even just feeling your physical body touching grass and nature and hugging a tree. Really just communing with natural surroundings. I really strongly believe in spending time barefoot with my feet touching the sand or the grass or seawater and so on. This literally keeps us grounded in our bodies when we connect with nature physically, especially if you're uncomfortable with your own body. There's so many benefits to connecting with nature, like studies that show that being in nature has a very positive effect on our bodies, whether whether it helps us live longer, it lowers our stress levels and reduces cortisol levels. It even helps our bodies recover by relieving muscle tension and lowers demands on our cardiovascular systems. That means less risk of heart disease. Plus, being in nature and touching nature just feels so good for you and for your soul. I mean, look around me, you're gonna know that I love my plants. They really make me feel at ease, and I think that overthinking partly comes from not being comfortable with the environment that you're in. And that's your brain trying to protect you from situations that you don't want to be in. Number 3, wabi-sabi. Things aren't always perfect, and we should embrace that imperfection more. Wabi-sabi is a Japanese aesthetic and concept that's all about embracing earthliness and the feelings of organic things in nature, because in the world, yes, some straight lines do exist in nature, but they're also extremely rare. And so in the same line of thinking, so is perfection. It's kind of similar to a concept called hatsuhachibu, which is basically leaving things 80% done, because perfectionism can be a curse. If you're a perfectionist, you will know this for sure. I personally love this concept. If it's good enough, it's good enough. It doesn't need to be perfect. Nothing is perfect, and I think that we get this feeling quite a bit when we look at beautiful people on Instagram who are just so perfect. They almost look uncanny because most people have physical quirks, and that can make us even more beautiful because of it. So I have here, for example, an object that embraces this concept of wabi-sabi, and it's this right here. It's really beautiful because it looks imperfect, because of the wavy lines and the organic structure of it. And if you look at the bottom of this, it's kind of not glazed, even though the rest of it is, and you can see that the paint is a bit uneven. That's what makes it so gorgeous and beautiful. So embracing imperfection and that nothing lasts forever, the cracks in your cup, the wrinkles on your face as you age, accepting that things aren't always going to be perfect or permanent, can really relieve us of the pressure of overthinking about achieving perfection. Wabi-sabi is a commitment to the everyday, the melancholic, the somewhat broken and the imperfect, the beauty that lies in the flaws. So I don't have an example of kintsugi, but in Japanese pottery, kintsugi means to join with gold, and that is a very elegant and graceful way to mend any kind of broken pottery, leaving the mend fully visible and highlighting it with precious metal like gold, for example. Kintsugi makes no attempt to hide or disguise something that's broken. In fact, it highlights its brokenness, and you'll see that broken pot shards are fused together with gold and the cracks become the focus of the beauty. So you'll see that the imperfections reveal a different kind of loveliness where the imperfection becomes its own version of perfection. It's celebrated. And so the end result becomes even more beautiful because it's been broken, and it becomes even stronger because of the cracks. This concept is how I personally embrace my self-development journey, seeing the work that I put into myself as kintsugi, like pouring into the cracks of myself with gold that makes me even more unbreakable and lovable to myself and as a result to other people. So learning to let go of the should be's and what ifs and appreciate the isness. I always say things like, oh well, shoulda, coulda, woulda as my personal mantras for getting rid of overthinking and just embrace being and I am in the present. Because the past is not real anymore, the future is not real yet, the only moment that is real is the present, and there's so much power in staying present and staying in your I am. Number 4, nembutsu. Nembutsu means prayer, but specifically it comes from Buddhism, and it's basically a type of invocation for taking refuge in Buddha. It's a practice where a person repeats a sacred phrase over and over again or the name of a Buddha to focus their mind and to find peace. So yeah, it is a type of mantra, and there are many other religions that practice chanting and mantras as well. So it's a form of prayer, and it brings you calmness and mindfulness, and it helps you through psychological and emotional difficulties. Even practicing our I am affirmations is a form of nembutsu. There's contemplative nembutsu, which is the practice of envisioning the characteristics of a Buddha, and then there's meditative nembutsu, which is the meditation on the spiritual qualities of a Buddha. So in terms of overthinking, practicing nembutsu helps you to focus on a higher power or just something much bigger than whatever little problems we have compared to godliness or the universe. Because compared to the highest power, our problems just seem so insignificant, which is what it is, right? We realize how little our problems actually matter when we look at a picture of the galaxy. Like, we're so tiny, but it also doesn't mean that we're insignificant, because there's so much more to our lives than the things that shouldn't even matter. The poet Rumi says that we're not a drop in the ocean, we are the entire ocean in a drop. The traffic jam that we're in, it doesn't matter. The embarrassing thing that you said 3 years ago that you keep repeating in your head doesn't matter. So this is really a way of practicing the type of mindfulness that you will experience in the 2 greatest moments of your life as a human being, which is essentially the moment moment of birth and the moment of death. When you think about your life in this way, like, wow, my greatest and most important significant moment of my life isn't actually in the hands of other people. It's not about the things that happened to me during my lifetime. It's not even my words or what I did. It's really the moments that you enter and then leave the earth eventually. And you're going to start approaching your little overthinking problem way more differently than before. Number 5, zazen. This is a form of meditation practice in Zen Buddhism, which is directly related to Zen meditation or sitting meditation. There also seems to be a little bit of a common misunderstanding with zazen, which some people would think of it as a technique for reaching a state of having no thoughts, only vibes. These days, it's more so considered a technique for attaining things like mental or physical health, more skillful social behavior, peaceful mind, or the resolution of all kinds of problems in your life. So technically, the way to practice zazen is to sit in the full lotus position, and then that's what it is. There's nothing more to it. Anything else on top of that is just whatever your mind chooses to do. So zazen itself is just sitting in that lotus position and then nothing else. When you sit in this position, your mind is so focused on sitting in that position that it's hard to think about anything else, to be honest. And guys, it takes a while to get to the full lotus position, like anywhere from 1 to 2 weeks to a few months of practice. I can't even do it. It really takes time, but the concept behind it is fascinating because in the Western world, we focus so much on the cortical cerebral functions, the brain, the head, and so we think that self-consciousness and the I ams is really all in the head when it's not. All of the issues associated with our minds or so-called in the head really just comes from a lack of harmony amongst the organs in our body, our brain, our gut, and so on. Eastern philosophy actually shows us that there's so much more to ourselves than just our head. There's the rest of our body to think about. So our brains are only one organ in our body, and so it's a small part of the equation compared to the rest of our physical selves. So zazen really focuses more on the holistic body-mind framework by making us focus on both the body and the mind with this full lotus sitting meditation. If our head is overfunctioning, which is exactly what overthinking is about, our brains are just on overdrive, right? This causes us to live an unbalanced life. But in the zazen posture, our head begins to find its proper place and function in alignment within a more harmonious unification of our body and our mind, because we're not just a collection of body parts and organs. We are an entirely organically integrated whole person. And so the zazen sitting meditation is designed in such a way that even when one part of the body moves, even if it's a small movement, it simultaneously will cause your entire body to move along with it and to move as one in the context of time and space. So it's a simple concept, but it's way deeper than you think. It's also way harder than you think because a complete beginner cannot know how to do this immediately. We have to learn this one step at a time. We learn to regulate our mind, we regulate our body, we regulate our breath, and so on. So when we practice zazen correctly, we feel our entire body and all of its physical and mental functions as a whole. So when we feel quiet and calm, but our body sits very heavily and strongly, it's kind of like you become the irresistible force, which basically is what happens when the unstoppable force meets the immovable object. So basically nothing happens. But the basic idea is that sitting in meditation helps you calm your mind, observe your thoughts without attachment, and gradually reduce the habit of overthinking. So if you want to learn more about meditation, I personally spent a few months just meditating and healing from my own personal life traumas, getting therapy that I needed, meditating a lot and using subliminals, affirmations, all of it. If you're interested in how I was able to reprogram my mind in the span of a few months, you can join in on my 7-day meditation challenge, and you can use whatever meditation videos that you like, but I use the app called Aura where you can listen to thousands of meditations, subliminals, affirmations, and they even offer life coaching content, and it's free to join even if you cancel the trial before the end of the 7 days. So I have a PDF that you can follow along. You can find the link to join in my video description. Number 6, gaman. This is the Japanese and Zen Buddhist philosophy of attaining discipline through practicing stoicism, perseverance, and the endurance of hardship without complaining. It means to tackle our adversities with inner strength and self-discipline. It comes from going within and working on ourselves and developing a stoic mindset. I know that the Japanese people did not invent the concept of stoicism itself, but I find so many similarities. You will especially feel the gaman vibe in crowded Japanese cities like Tokyo during rush hour, where people are just squeezed into the trains, but everyone's quietly persevering through the crowds, the commute to work, and just through the toll of day-to-day life. It's a way to show yourself patience and to show others patience as well as your perseverance in difficult situations. And to do so by maintaining a sort of social harmony. It's all about self-restraint and to be in control of your responses rather than overreacting to everything. You're putting the brakes on your own feelings for the greater good. It's almost seen as your duty to society and a sign of maturity as a person to not externalize your own internal struggles. You're learning to handle things with grace even when things get tough, which honestly I wish more people can learn how to practice gaman, because the amount of times I experience road rage, like projecting your experience and your rage outward, it can be uncalled for and it really shows a lack of self-discipline. Gaman is about facing tough times gracefully. So when life surprises you, you're staying strong, you're handling it with resilience, and you keep moving forward, even if it's just one step at a time. And discipline especially, it needs to be practiced one step at a time from the smallest steps, or else we're going to be feeling very overwhelmed by it. So when you overthink, you need to practice the other methods in this video to feel calm and calm yourself down and lean into the discipline of putting things into practice. Number 7, ikebana. Ikebana is the art of floral arrangement where you're carefully arranging selected flowers, greenery, and other kinds of flora with careful attention to make the flowers come alive and to convey a specific feeling or emotion. It is exactly like a form of painting or sculpture. Every cut and placement is thoughtful, and the focus is on creating beauty, which helps you fully be in the present and quiet down the busy thoughts in your head. It's also a very transient practice because ikebana arrangements only last about a week or two max, but it's a centuries-old practice, and doing a very focused creative work like with ikebana, it really helps you focus on the task at hand, and it keeps your mind off of overthinking about a billion things. Doing ikebana or a creative hobby is way better for you in terms of feeding your boredom with negative thoughts or by doom scrolling on social media. It also combines a few other concepts that we've talked about before, like embracing nature, focusing on beauty and simplicity and grace and elegance. There are also studies done specifically on ikebana that helps people with high anxiety lower their stress and their overthinking. So it's a very healing practice that lets you just embrace the stillness, improve your focus, and really just improve clarity around situations. This practice really taught me that when you focus on beauty, you start seeing beautiful things everywhere. And when you focus on beauty as your current reality, you also become a more beautiful person as a result. And if you're still struggling, just remember that nothing will last forever. Everything will pass you eventually. And when you're old someday, you're gonna want to look back on how you spent your days just enjoying beauty and not being stuck at home indoors, being sad all the time and having anxiety. You gotta pick yourself up eventually, and it's okay to be sad. It's okay to be anxious sometimes, as long as you don't let it persist for too long. So just learning to enjoy the beauty of being human, all of its brokenness and out of controlness and imperfectionism, and just accept that we can only do what we can, but we also can't change the past, and the future hasn't happened yet. So focus on this very moment. Truly, the best we can do every day can look very different from one day to the next, and that's completely okay. So guys, I hope that these techniques have helped you, and if you want to join in on the meditation challenge, you can check out the PDF in my video description box and also join my Discord community if you want to talk to other people about your meditation practice. And yeah, thumbs up the video and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, if you want to see more from me. And as always, I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.